Alright, so we're finally back. Acoustics may sound different because now my room's clear and it's only just me. So, acoustics, I may echo a little more. I won't know until editing, and I mean, we'll see how it comes out. But, the 1 week break, it's back. There's another, about a week break, or a 2 week break. Technically, this was a 2 week break. I call it a week break because I think of from the weekend where we didn't have it to now. But Utica is back. They are in the Nexus and at the odd one each. Obviously, that little experiment of having it at the same time as Comic Game and then having two games in the Nexus was a little rough. Um, I don't love how the first game in the Nexus went because you had issues with, I mean, part of it is it's just different, but you had, the audio was very quiet. The audio from whether it was the goal horn and what have you, because they do the goal horn and the goal song, which I love having a normal goal horn, and doing it on speakers just doesn't sound right, and it's always way quieter than it should be compared to the music. And then music and stuff is also very quiet. In-ring announcer is very quiet, and that all kind of rolls into one. One good thing is you can hear the benches a lot more. You can hear the coaches. You can hear the on-ice chatter. But that's good if you're someone who's used to the odd and being up in like row Q through R or whatever, super high up in something like 203, 204, 205, 215, 216. But if you're down in those 100s, you're kind of used to that. Hearing a little bit of that, especially being behind the bench, I hear a lot of it. So that's kind of a thing. And you're for anyone who's yelling at some point, and anyone who knows I'm a very loud yeller at those games. It comes in at a different angle, and it's a little different of projecting to that. It hurts a lot more. But yeah, it was a change. I mean, it's not a, I don't love it being in the Nexus, but whatever gets us games, gets us games. I'll take as many games as I possibly can from Utica at home. But so last night's game, I had a thing ready to post, and they postponed it. And I think it was probably Lebanon Valley because it did nothing here. So it was probably on their part. I haven't checked the weather report, but so now you have tonight's game is at the odd, tomorrow's game's at the Nexus, and the times have been moved. Tonight's game was moved up to 6, and the game that got moved to Sunday got moved to 12:30, compared to a 7:30 start time was supposed to be last night. So kind of little weird timing, but hey, I'll take the shift up from 7 to 6 tomorrow night or tonight. So they're playing a Lebanon Valley team who is having a rough year. They have a couple small wins, but they have a lot of big losses. And I mean, you look at their game against Stevenson, one of them they got absolutely leveled. As I'm pulling up the schedule, that's why I'm like a little hesitant. Because, I never plan these things out. You'd think I would. They come in at 3-12 and 2-8 in conference play, which that's very rough if you're playing in the UCHC. Because this year you're seeing someone like an Alvernia have an up year. I think Arcadia's gotten a little better. So you're seeing a lot more talent. Not that there's not talent, but you're seeing a little bit better hockey from a lot of teams. Manhattanville did take a step back, and Nazareth did take a step back from us. Actually, Manhattanville took 20 steps back. I'm so glad they did, because I do not like Manhattanville in the slightest. I love having them as a rival, and I do not like them at all. So, of course, this has a problem pulling itself up. Looking at their wins, they had one at King's College, one against EHL South Central All-Stars, which was an exhibition. Both of those games were an exhibition, both that and the King's College game. And then so those won't count towards the record. And then wins versus Arcadia, a 1-point win. Nazareth, a 1-point win in overtime. Both games were 3-2. And then a 5-2 win over SUNY Morrisville. They got leveled by Cortland 2-10 in their first regular season game. Lost to Nazareth on the following day of that overtime win, 1-5. Elmira stomped them 3-7. Arcadia came back the second day in their series and beat them by 1. They lost to Newman 2-5 and then 3-4 in the weekend series. And then Chatham beat them 2-7 and then 1-2 in overtime in a series. And then Stevenson beats them in a weekend series by 4 and then 3 points. So some of those better teams, your Stevensons, your Elmiras, your Nazareths, who's I'd say top, maybe dropped from number 2 from last season, but I'd still argue is top 5 in the conference. And then you have Cortland come in and just say, hey, you're a warm-up game, bud. So they're 1-6 at home, but they're 2-6 on the road, and they're on a losing streak of 7. So I mean, we'll kind of see how they play. This is definitely a winnable game. Both of them are, and I think this is more how does Utica handle this and just kind of how do they come out the gates, because how you come out the gates is everything. Last time Utica saw Lebanon Valley was the infamous 16-1 win where Remy Parker got a record for points that game. They're 2-12 at home against Utica and 0-13 and 1 on the road, so that means we haven't lost at home versus them. They are 2-24-1. Conference record. Okay. Yeah, I was looking at that weird for some reason. They are 2-24-1 overall, and that's also the conference record. They are 1-8-1 in the last 10. And they only average about 1.3 goals a game. So, or one and a third. So, looking at that, I mean, like I said, it's definitely a winnable game. Just how do the lines get shifted tonight, and kind of how does the team want to play? Because last weekend there was a little bit of shifting, and I think you're going to see another split series of one game for Lansing and one game for Erob. You'll probably see Lansing the first game, Erob the second. And you never know with Gary, though. It could change at a moment's notice. Just like how forward lines got a little shifted the last couple weeks since we came back from break. Actually, the Manhattanville series was during the break. But for their comeback from the break, it's been all moved around. I mean, some of the same components have stayed together, like that first line of Vitale and Briel and Morris. But, I mean, other than that, there's been a little bit of shifting. I think it was Kimball and Scovey got bumped off the same line. The lineup, that's an old lineup. Great. See, I'm going crazy today. Let me see if they have the lineup up or not. There was a game day thing posted by the Utica Pioneers athletics page. But you never know. It may get posted an hour before. It may get posted 24 hours before. That's just how it is. Yeah, nothing yet. And I didn't see this. According to Gary, he said Pennsylvania weather in his tweet, so I'm assuming it was Lebanon Valley was the reason the game got postponed. But anyways, other than that, I mean, the lineup may not be out, but if last week's lineup is anything to kind of go off of, I mean, obviously you're still going to see your first line. Actually, last week there was a shift in the first line, but obviously you're still going to see Vitale and Morris and probably Briel on the same line. Briel actually got sat the second game against Newman. I can see why you'd do that. Because, I mean, do you really think I'm scared of Newman? Like, honestly? But looking at the lineup, I mean, you're still rolling. I mean, Christian's still going to play. Hughesy's still going to play. Herrera's still going to play. Murph is likely going to play. Wood's likely going to play. It's just about who do they, and probably even Gooley. So it's about who do they want to shift in that's their 7D, which I still don't know who's their 6 and 7D. They do a lot of moving. Because one day Diarazio's out of the lineup, the next day Vidimov will be out of the lineup, and the next day Brighton's out of the lineup, and then the next day Oliver's out of the lineup, so you never know. And the next day you'll have Perrick out of the lineup, so you never know. And obviously I think Vladdy's probably going to play, so it all depends on who's your last couple in, like your Carrolls, your Javier's, just who's the last few in. Your Guts, who even got playing time. But anyways, just kind of look over the games. Right now, I'm not even going to mention what I was going to mention because then it's going to happen, and I don't want it to. But I'm not jinxing anything. So, hopefully they show up and show out. The first game is at the Nexus tonight instead of how it was going to be Odd than Nexus, which I liked Odd than Nexus than Odd because then Nexus, you would have been done with it and it would have been the last one. But thankfully next week we have home and home with Nazareth, so at least we get one game and then Odd next week. So looking forward to the game tonight. If anyone's in the rink, stop by 103 tonight or tomorrow. I'm sure I'm going to be standing somewhere. So stop by the section. Good luck to the boys. And let's hope that the boys show up and show out because that's the most exciting time. See ya.